You wake up to find you're the last person on Earth. What do you do? How do I know I'm the last person on Earth? Everybody clearly dead? Or is everyone just gone? Either way, since there is literally no way to know that you are the last person on Earth, the only logical response would be to assume that there are other survivors too, somewhere, and if so, you need to go looking to find them. Internet and most services are likely going to work for a while, so I'll post some threads on Reddit and YouTube, etc. Since it'll be the only new content updated, the algorithms are going to push it to top if someone else is still there. Take over FM station, or more realistically set up a large AM station and broadcast on loop on every channel band that you can. Find ways to travel to other locations to find others. Set up repeater stations. At some point learn to hunt because the shelf-stable food will eventually go bad too. I wouldn't believe it and would assume there are other out there. My main concern would be my family, so I'd probably be distraught. Actually, the most realistic answer. I would have a mental breakdown because all of my friends and family are gone. Then I'd have a panic attack thinking of all their pets that are stuck in houses, shelters, etc. and will starve if I don't help them. And then I myself would probably starve from all the stress. Break into mansions and do all the elite folks. This was my first thought. Actually, my first thought was trying to bend towards something noble, but I quickly reality checked and realized I'd just get it over with and drive that $5,000 car, cruise that 300 feet yacht out into the harbor, eat that vanishingly exclusive cuisine, and sip that rarest of scotch, only to get through my head what I knew all along: that sort of satisfaction was truly chimerical. But hell, you never really will convince yourself without trying. The second thing I'd do, that's tougher. Hold an election, win 100% of the votes, become president and move to the White House. Every month make a poll. Always get 100% approval rating. Start dropping in the polls as your unchecked mental illness begins to take a firmer hold. Start a smear campaign on your enemies. Lose the next election, hold an attempted coup, start your own social media site. I legitimately didn't start this trying to make it sound like anyone we're familiar with. Are people dead or gone? If gone, I go shopping. This is clearly some magic bull. Best to keep my cool until it's over. If dead, I try to find the local fertility clinic and hope I can figure out how to implant them in like my thigh with the time I have left. It's interesting that questions like this show how male-dominated Reddit really is. This is the only comment suggesting repopulating and also in your thigh. Lamau. I wouldn't want to get pregnant and give birth all on my own and consign children to an empty world, but I'd still give it a shot. I don't have any medical training, so I'm guessing it would go horribly, but in an ideal circumstance I'd be able to implant myself with genetically diverse embryos from different sources so they aren't actually related and there isn't an incest problem. If all goes incredibly poorly, I can always opt out at any time, but I'd try first. I'm more likely to fail horribly, give myself a blood infection, and die painfully though. There are also artificial wombs that technically exist, but I'd have no idea how to run them. Finally have time to read all the books I want to read. I just have to make sure I don't break my glasses though. I feel like a lot of people only know the last minute of this episode. So you know how often TV and movies depict a subculture, a hobby, or a certain situation wrong, because they have absolutely no perspective on how it works in real life. Time Enough at Last is the late 50s version of that. The protagonist loves to read, he's addicted to reading. He even reads shampoo bottles and the back of cereal boxes because he loves reading so much. Meanwhile, the world at large is like the townspeople in Beauty and the Beast. Reading is just an abhorrent idea for weirdos. They dank on the protagonist's hobby and stop him from reading at all cost. Also, for some reason the entire world gets blown up except for the bank vault the protagonist is in and the remains of a library. Make my way to DC and read every classified file known or unknown to man. Tell me you have absolutely no concept of data security without telling me you have no concept of data security. The odds of you dying of old age before you're able to do all of access, acquire, and read anything interesting are extremely high. You're better off just enjoying a library until you die. The more I think about this, the more unlikely it becomes. You'd need to be single-handedly maintaining any and all power plants servicing any related data centers, which you wouldn't. know where those data centers are located, and possibly any corresponding water facilities. You'd need to be a cybersecurity expert. You'd likely need to be an experienced sysadmin and network engineer. You'd likely need to be some combo of locksmith and demolitions expert and electrician. Are you any of these currently? And what would you gain after this Herculean effort? Some secret information that now bears no relevance to your existence that you have no one to tell. You would have been better off gardening. I would expect the most likely outcome in this hypothetical situation to be extreme loneliness and depression before giving in and returning to the void. So many people are saying they just themselves or go build a bunker. I imagine a question like this is meant to prompt people to imagine what they would do with complete social freedom, but it is routinely responded to with despair. I'd do something similar, trying to find the answers to all sorts of supposed conspiracies and murky history, and after a while probably take joyrides in a variety of vehicles, hoping I don't crash into anything. Nobody else being around is an opportunity to indulge curiosity and sheer fun. Go to the nearest supermarket and eat all the cheese, all the cheese. I mean, my first instinct, I guess, would be that I have maybe a day or two of water and electricity and internet to figure out what I should do before infrastructure starts to collapse. So I'd probably be consumed with panicking and simultaneously trying to get a gassed-up vehicle and research where I ought to go to have the best chance of surviving a while, downloading offline maps, survival guides, etc., and printing them out. I'm across the ocean from my home country, so getting back home is probably out of the question unless I learn to navigate the ocean. To know what I'd even do once I got there. Get to a big house that has a lot of solar panels, download things as fast as possible since the internet won't last long, and get a ton of canned food, pasta, and flour. Also learn how to make bread. For those that's curious, you can download a Zim archive of Wikipedia with images. Archive is around 80 gigs, and using something like Kiwix have fully offline searchable copy of Wikipedia. There's also a bunch of snapshots of Stack Exchanges and other useful resources. And if digital prepping is your thing, bit rot is a real concern. Easiest way to maintain drives against it is getting a NAS like Synology, Mirror, or RAID 6 drives with couple spares and set up a maintenance schedule. Basically follow enterprise best practices for data storage and you'll be golden for a long while. Breaking into pharmacies and evidence lockers and going on the biggest bender I can. Then I might get my together and move somewhere more hospitable. I'd break into pharmacies and steal all the levothyroxine I can find. I'm not sure what it happened to be if I ran out of it, but it probably won't be good. I had half my thyroid cut out a few years ago because cancer and now don't produce enough thyroid hormone. I have no idea what happens if I'm chronically low on it and would prefer not to find out. I still produce some, just not enough. I honestly want to say I'd get the absolute nicest RV humanly possible. Attach something a little smaller to the back so I don't only have to drive an RV. Make sure I also have a nice road bike and a bike maintenance book and head down somewhere that doesn't have winters. I want to say I'd try to hole myself up in a penthouse apartment so I can have a bird's eye view just in case I'm not the last one left. Then again, how would I get up there without a functioning elevator? Last of Us had a similar scenario. I would probably go try and find every animal I could in my area. I would then get a large boat and become the second Noah with my army of creatures and explore the world while capturing more animals as I go. I would teach the monkeys how to man a ship so it could be possible in the first place. Then, when I die, the world then has to deal with a crusade of all different animals who know how to work a very large boat. I would be horrified at how many trapped animals there were in homes and apartments around the world. It would eat me up inside and it'd go into the fetal position and cry thinking about how billions of animals were in the process of starving with no water all around the world. I think I'd get panic attacks after a few days thinking about hearing human footsteps or other sounds. I almost got a panic attack riding my bike down a trail on the woods. All you could see was sand and the trees waving with the wind. There were not car nor people noises. Just a few seconds in, after arriving to the woods, I felt weird. I felt as if a presence was observing me and the space around me was shrinking and shrinking. I rode as fast as I could out of there. I thought it would be a relaxing activity riding through the woods alone, but it ended up being terrifying. If I woke up in a world where there would be no one, I pretty much expect my reaction to be that exact same a few minutes after I set foot outside. If I was to put in effort to survive, gather some supplies, and make my way to Trident Lake, it is a real deal doomsday bunker survival system built by some rich goober. It has pretty much everything you could wish for and can be maintained by an individual. You don't need a bunker for long-term survival if everyone else is dead. You just need a big garden in a warm climate. Maybe set up a bunch of solar panels before the power goes out permanently. I love how you contradict your own idea of having a farm by wanting to travel as much as possible. You either grow crops or you travel. You can't have both. You might be lucky with the immediate animals you find in your way, but as time passes you'll come across packs of dogs who will happily maul you and your friendly dog to death. So get weapons to defend yourself. Who are you stealing from? There's no civilization left. Both internet and electricity would still be a thing, so make sure to use the internet to learn about diseases you could get and what medicine and how much of it to treat yourself in case you get sick. Learn how to hack a solar panel to charge your electric cars and ovens. I say electric cars because petrol will eventually go stale, so you might want to stick with electric cars. Get yourself battery chargers, power banks, which you can charge with the solar panel, and flash drives to store information you download from the internet so you can access it in any computer wherever you are in case the one you bring with you breaks. I'd also get myself a radiation detector because there is no one working at the nuclear power plants, so they will eventually have a meltdown in some days or weeks. Even if you steer clear of locations with nuclear power plants, the wind will carry the radiation. I'd also walk in all the major business centers and sit in executive offices. I'll go to the Vatican Library. I'll scour Washington for any dirty little secrets they are keeping, like aliens or whatever. I'll drive every luxury car for a few hours, then smash it, set it on fire, then move into the next one. I'll be sleeping only in expensive hotels. I'll go to every major fashion brand and dress myself with the most expensive pieces of clothing just to see what all the fuss is about. I'll go to the Louvre and touch the Mona Lisa, not destroy, just touch. I would sit in the Oval Office, shoot every gun I can find like a proper redneck, stock up on medicine, of course food is the above mentioned, but then just fun. Driving yachts, you know, all the stuff mere mortals can only dream of experiencing. And of course set fire to large amounts of money and build playhouses out of gold bars, playing with diamonds, basically being a stupid kid with superpowers. And yes, when the time comes, I'll OD on the purest cocaine on the planet with a royal scepter up my bum. I make my way to the Indianapolis International Airport, board one of the abandoned passenger jets, start it up, but make sure cabin will not pressurize properly. Similar to Helios Flight 522, taxi, takeoff, set autopilot for 38 kft. Then I enjoy the view while listening to music until I lose consciousness due to hypoxia. I die. The plane keeps flying until out of fuel and then crashes back to the ground, taking care of my burial. I've never flown an airliner but reckon I could ex-fighter pilot, so it's just switches in different places, better autopilot, and a toilet really. I'd probably spend some time visiting some far-off places. Probably not as easy or realistic as Kay think, but breaking into as many homes as I can and gathering up as much weed, coke, alcohol, and Molly as I can. Obviously not do it all at once, but it's free now, so why not have a stash? Get messed up a lot in this new lonely world, probably masturbate a lot, just go crazy. I've always wanted to get lost following railroad tracks too, and I'd break all the rules. All of them. Screw around and do various things to entertain myself while the world slowly decays. Once the nearby area's food supply and electricity runs out, I'd just myself. Maybe build a time capsule or some form of information database in case aliens ever show up or a new intelligent species evolves in the far future. Alternatively, I'm too lazy to do anything me and Jerfiendel and myself immediately. That option looks much more appealing, to be honest. Everyone is going to say stuff like go back to sleep or play video games all day or whatever, but an honest response is gather resources. I'll need a house or base of operations if there is truly no one else around. Need to be near fresh running water, need to get generators, will need tools and canned food, etc. There would be a lot of work to be done just to survive day to day. The first couple years wouldn't be so bad, But the following years would start to get tough once electricity starts to fail. Generators only work with gasoline, and gasoline will start to go bad. At some point, electricity will just be unavailable. Fresh food will start to go bad, so you would have to start learning to hunt and clean animals. No YouTube to watch either, have to find libraries and bookstores with camping and wilderness survival manuals. If you can find chickens, somehow, that would be a godsend if you could pen some up. Then you'd need to combat the loneliness and fatigue and desperation you'd feel. As much as many here would say no other people, amazing. Humans are social creatures. It's why places like Reddit are full of people posting and commenting. Arm myself to the teeth because animals will be everywhere and leave this podunk hole I'm currently trapped in. Head toward a bigger city close by and start looking for a nice house I like that is near a food source. Build a stockpile of drugs and other supplies I need, like fuel oil, water purification equipment. There will be no running water anymore, light sources, etc. Then once I'm comfortable, gather up things for entertainment and chill in my nice new house, I guess. I go and find a living quarters, maybe a supermarket, apartment building area near the outskirts of a city, so I can grow things and stuff. I live near farms and fields and things already, so I'd probably stop there first. Probably make a blockade with the lame cars and collect their gas and car batteries in my base area. Make a giant landmark and become familiar with the area. Have all the fun I can in fast cars, motorcycles, and playing all the video games I want before the power turns off forever. Maybe figure out a way to keep it running at least in a small area. I know a bit about science and chemistry, and with a little creativity I could possibly keep it running just for myself. Collect all the car batteries and gas I possibly can, as well as the guns and ammo. With CDL experience I can go fill up or grab a full tanker. Use a local person's credit gas card to collect gas before power goes out. Eat all the yummy food I want before it goes bad. Then with all this stuff I can think of new and exiting things to do every day. I can go fishing, hunting, wingsuit flying off buildings. Later on I'd go looking for LSD, MDMA, shrooms, and weed. Become the highest anyone has ever been on Earth. And after all my fun is done, I'd try some risky things out, like flying a helicopter or a plane. Maybe fly to another country or something. I'd definitely try to explore places the rest of humanity didn't try to explore with unlimited resources. I bet I could do just about anything. And if I survive, I'd do it all over again in that new place and try to live the rest of my life out, or just end myself because I'd get lonely eventually. I don't think the way I'd live would let me bring a dog or animal. They'd probably die because I would be very reckless and adventurous. That's where most of the fun would come from. Although if you know where an oil rig is located and can figure out how to operate the power plant there, you can have power and bring an animal. Use a boat or something to transport all your belongings, gas and diesel. I'd try to collect as much human knowledge as possible and store it on something that maybe one day aliens will find and learn about humanity. You're going to, by yourself, invent an entirely new, bigger, longer-lasting storage medium with no access to industry, as opposed to all the storage it's currently on. Take a chisel, start carving, and remember that since the aliens are finding Earth, they almost certainly won't need any of our STEM. Language and culture will matter more. I'd spend some time setting me up. I'd move, if possible, to a place with a temperate, subtropical climate. Since I don't know how much fuel for heating my place I'd get, I'd also try to choose a place far away from earthquakes, floods, eruptions. Then I'd gather all the medicines and all the canned food I can find, seeds to grow veggies, tools to repair and build stuff, weapons and ammunitions to defend myself from possible predators once nature reclaims the urban areas. Then I'd look for dogs and cats to have companies, which I feel will be very important, and books. All those I can find. At that point, I'd try to enjoy life for as long as I can, I guess. Can you imagine the paranoia? Are you really the last person alive? Is there a baddie out there who might meet you? This leads to making possible escape plans, storing food in caches, keeping a weapon. Keeping yourself secure becomes the main priority. What happens if the mind makes you believe in the paranormal? Everywhere you sleep is haunted. You'd soon go mad. Me, I'd find a temperate place and make my home utilizing existing wind, solar power for hot water and basic electric items. Keep active hunting and fishing daily, and in evening I'd be Reading in safe place, drinking beer and whiskey. I'd stockpile everything I'd need in a few different places and make longer-term plans for farming, etc., and taming pre-domesticated animals. Celebrate, but then I'd be deeply sad that my partner wasn't with me. I'd probably have my peace and quiet for a while, then off myself. Plain and simple. We are social creatures, and unless the act of surviving alone is enjoyable to you, life literally would have no purpose unless you make up some in your head. Even an introvert like me knows the importance of having people around you, whether it be family down the hall or social media or video games, movies. Once they're gone, everything is different, less important, lacking purpose. If y'all have parents, grandparents, siblings, etc. that matter to you, don't forget to visit with them, give them a bear hug, tell them that you love them. Call them over the phone if you have to, because you can't imagine how the world will feel without them until they are gone, and it doesn't feel good. Even if you only saw them once in a blue moon. I'ma stop thinking about this now, it's making me more depressed. I've no idea how one could wake up and discover they're the last person on Earth even if it happened, but I'd take my cat and some items of personal significance to me, drive to the city, take a gaming PC, take a VR headset, download as much PC-exclusive single-player video games as I could, download as much off the internet I find of personal significance before the internet went down forever. Would read up on how to supply a house with power, but I don't have much faith in accomplishing that. After the inevitable occurs, I'll find a house with solar panels and stock up on food and beverages. I'd also insulate the building I took residence in for winter, set up barrels for water collection, and gather firewood because I'm a paranoid fellow. Will definitely find myself reading books, both for guidance and recreation, but everything else I've listed is what I'd prioritize doing beforehand. If when I can't any entertaining books, I'd probably roam around the empty buildings. As the years pass, I'd probably embark on a journey across Canada and the US. I probably would eventually end up attempting to visit Europe and/or Japan. Europe for its culture and just to change things up a bit, and Japan because there is plenty of great manga lying around waiting to be read. Though obviously I'd have to learn Japanese through a book beforehand. I suspect I'd be going insane prior to the Europe-Japan expedition attempts, but not much I can do about that.